What's up? This is Keith Kalfas, and I'm having an epiphany that I want to share with you about success. I was literally in the shower, and I was like, oh my God. So I rushed here, got the camera, and I'm just documenting this for myself. I thought maybe I'd turn on the camera and just document it and share it with you. Deal? Okay, so Robert Kiyosaki was right in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He told the story of a famous book by Burke Hedges called The Parable of the Pipeline. And it's a story about Pablo and Bruno. So I'll tell you this story really quick, and it's the difference between being broke your whole life and carrying buckets, which is like a job or working for money, versus building streams of residual income that you create your freedom. Here's a village, and the village has a well, or whatever, a place to store water. But way over here is a freshwater stream. And this is the second side of it that it was never talked about in a book that I just recurred, that what stops people from becoming successful like this. So the village and the village's people need water every day. So they have a town meeting hundreds of years ago, and they decide to hire Pablo and Bruno. Pablo and Bruno are young, strong men with strong backs, and they give Pablo and Bruno buckets. And their job, as in Parable of the Pipeline, life-changing book, you could probably get it on Amazon, like $10. I read the whole book in one evening. I couldn't stop reading it. It frustrated me, and it took me many years to figure this out. Okay, so they hire guys with buckets to carry the buckets back and forth. So they walk a mile to the stream, dip the buckets in, 1 bucket each, and then they walk all the way back. And then overtime would be like 2 buckets each. Double time would be like 4 buckets, 2 buckets in each hand. Well, anyways, this is their job. Every day, they're walking in the blazing hot sun, the sun beating on them, and they're carrying buckets back and forth to get paid. And as they're walking, you have Pablo and Bruno. And at the beginning, they're both very excited. Oh my God, we got this great job. We got benefits. We're making money. We're getting paid. This is a career. And the whole town and village is proud of us to give them water. But after a couple weeks, they're completely sunburned and they're exhausted and they're like, oh my God. And Pablo says to Bruno, he goes, I don't know what's going on here, but this sucks. Bruno's like, shut up. We have a good job, right? Don't talk like that. And in the evenings and on paycheck day, Pablo's saving his money for a bigger idea, but Bruno's in the bar blowing his money and hanging out and buying people drinks. As the weeks and months go on, Pablo has this genius idea one day that he's going to, after work and on the weekends, he's going to take his savings and start investing and digging a trench and get some tools. And he's going to start to build a pipeline. He's like, oh my God, Bruno, I have this idea. What if we built a pipeline that goes from the freshwater stream all the way to the village? Then we could put a pump in and get it flowing. We don't have to work ever again. We'll be rich. Bruno says, that's the craziest, stupidest idea I ever had. Shut up. You're going to make us lose our jobs, you idiot. So he tries to express it to Bruno. Bruno doesn't want to hear it. So Pablo does it anyways. In the evening and on the weekends, Bruno's getting more and more tired and burned out and broke, while Pablo's getting more and more excited because now he's investing in his residual income stream and his dream. It was one weekend, about 6 months into it, and Pablo is this far, he's digging a trench, and Bruno and his buddies come by, and they see Pablo digging the trench, and they start to make fun and crack jokes on Pablo, saying, what are you doing? This is stupid. Come hang out with us. This is dumb. They didn't have any vision, but Pablo did, right? After about a year, the entire pipeline was constructed, and 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, doesn't matter. And now he's got all the piping all laid in a pump, and he's pumping it, and finally, water starts flowing, and now the whole town is celebrating. He puts a filter in there, and everybody's excited because now Pablo's this revolutionary Elon Musk, Thomas Edison, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, or your average contractor, somebody who comes up with an amazing way of doing something, or invest in real estate or an internet business or systematizing their business, whatever it is, you've now got a residual stream of income and everybody's celebrating. And now Bruno's out of a job, and Pablo ends up hiring Bruno to maintain the pipeline, right? But this town celebrates and they ask Pablo, oh my God, you're a genius. Are you going to retire and go sit on the beach and drink margaritas? Pablo's like, no. It took me all this time to figure this out. Now I know how to do it and I know what it costs, and now I can do the next one in a third of the time. I'm going to go and construct pipelines all to the neighboring towns and cities and eventually all over the world and become a multimillionaire or a billionaire, whatever. So with all that being said, systems thinking, pipeline thinking, reinvesting your time and energy, even if it's just a little bit, after work and on the weekends, Instead of doing whatever else you do, become an implementer and get around other people who are building pipelines, that's for sure. But with all that being said, it's called pipeline building versus bucket carrying. Always ask yourself, am I carrying buckets right now? Which I do still. I have a landscaping business. I work my ass off. I carry buckets all the time. I'm dipping into building pipelines and it's changing my life. That's why I'm so excited about this and I'm sharing this with you. But here is the other half of the scenario, the reciprocal to all this. When Pablo is in the real world, really actually trying to build his pipeline, when you're really actually trying to really do this stuff with your real life and you're exhausted after work, and you have a family that needs your time, and you have maybe a small business that's churning, it's a monster that requires so much time and energy and effort. This is what happens. So Pablo has friends. Let's just say they're over here and they've got pipelines. They're crushing it. They're making mad income. Tons of revenue. Yay! Yay! Well, I just call it money signs. This is it. All the money's here, but Pablo is friends with some people that are doing this. Here's Pablo. He's now hanging out with these guys. He's still working with Bruno. He still has self-employed or as a job, but now he's hanging out with millionaires and he's freaking out going, oh my God, how are you doing this? I want to get into real estate, but I don't have the investment capital. I want to launch this business. I want to get into Airbnb. I want to get into these stocks. I want to do all these things, but I'm stuck carrying these buckets day in, day out, and I don't have enough money yet or residual income to put the buckets down. And doing it at night and on the weekends, like a couple hours a week, isn't enough.
Stick around as Keith returns with more of the Untrapped podcast in just a moment. Hey, if you're looking for what is probably the greatest software ever to run your business on, go to getjobber.com/Keith. You can create proposals, invoices, collect payments, even track your entire business directly on the Jobber smartphone app. And if you want to get a totally free trial of Jobber right now, open your browser, type in getjobber.com/Keith, and if after the trial you decide you want to sign up with Keith's link, you'll automatically get 20% off your first 6 months. So what are you waiting for? Go to getjobber.com/Keith. This is Untrapped with Keith Kalfas.
Right? So here's what happens. I'm in the landscaping business and it's cyclical. So I work like 8 months out of the year and at least 6 of those months are insane. 70 hours a week, up to 90 hours a week in the spring. If you are in the green industry, let me know. Or any type of seasonal based business where it goes like this. It's just insane. And then in the winter, you get some downtime. Well, whatever type of season or cycle, and there's different seasons to life and to the year. Sometimes it's a season where you have no choice. The best thing you can do is just grind your ass off for 6 months straight. That's the season. So once you're aware of that and you know that's what you got to do, but what if you got some intel on some really, really powerful information that could financially change your life, but you're coming into high season and you're getting all that overtime and you're making all that earned income. I mean, you got bills and overhead and expenses that you've got to meet, and you really don't have a choice because you can't bet on that. You can't bet on all these residual income streams making you money right away. One, because you've never actually seen it hit your bank account in real life. And two, you don't know just because it worked for them if it's going to work for you. And even if it's going to, it's probably not going to happen fast enough before you end up going underwater and going bankrupt. Or you don't even have the money to fund all this yet. It's a snowball effect. You got to start out small. If you had the time and the money to put into it, takes money to make money? Yes and no. But if you had the time and money to put into it so you could snowball it faster, the way to do it is by putting more time and more money into these models. But you got to get in where you fit in. You got to start out small and don't despise small beginnings. But here's what I'm saying. Pablo is going effing insane because he's literally going into his high season. So he's in a low season and he gets all these amazing ideas that can change his life. But here comes the high season, and then they're strapping the buckets to his hands, and he's carrying 3 buckets in each arm. Just watching all these opportunities go down the drain. He can't because he's freaking handcuffed to his business and he's got to make all that revenue, at least for this 6 months. And that's something that tears Pablo apart. Pablo's got to wait till he's got some money in the bank. He's got to have a cushion. He's got to make sure all his bills are paid. Maybe he needs some credit to get to that. This is more complex. So it's going to take Pablo a lot more time, right? People who are success generate success. So people who are already successful and they've generated success and they have money in the bank and they have connections, they can implement and get things off the ground a lot faster because they were already in the field. But if you're really just getting started in this, it takes a long time. That's that hockey stick effect type thing that you see. It goes like this, or be this way, and then it takes off. That's how it happens. But it's a long, hard road, this wedge in here to get that thing going, because you have to do this here. You have to do this for now. I watched myself for 5 years hustle and toil playing this game, and I still do every day. But now I'm dipping into this game and I'm seeing how it happens. So that's the other end of the game. He doesn't just go build it at night and on the weekends. He does, but the shit takes a long, long time. So I think that's one of the best things that I have coaches and mentors that are very successful in my life that help me with my life and my business. And the things that I've learned from them is you're on the phone on a coaching session. Like I have a client who's a friend. He owns millions of dollars in real estate. And I'll be on the phone with him venting about my frustrations about it not happening fast enough. You're not becoming successful fast enough. And here's what I always hear every time. Well, based off everything you're telling me, you're hustling, you're running your business, you're being a good person, good man or woman, you're spending time with your family, you're always learning, you're plugging into a community, which is very important, and you're doing all the things you should be doing. Is there anything that you're doing wrong? Is there anything that you could be doing better? We analyze the situation to see what's the most effective thing you can do right now so you can speed up this process. But based off all of this, when you're aware of this and you're doing your due diligence, the truth is you just need more time. That's the only difference. You can compress time by hiring coaches and consultants. You can compress time by taking some of your money and investing it faster, or learning from these people specifically up here. You start listening to the entrepreneurs and stop listening to Bruno. If you got head trash coming in, negative people, negative family members, negative friends, people that you shouldn't be taking their information, let it go in one ear and out the other. You start, what are you focusing on, right? Because when you're here, it's very easy to go into depression and apathy. They didn't tell in the book how Pablo went through like 6 months of depression, then a family member died, then another family member got hooked on some bad stuff, and all the crap Pablo went through to finally get to that point. Because when you look at these people, you're like, oh, they're crushing it, dog. They're making millions or whatever. But 9 times out of 10, if you read The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley, the self-made millionaires and entrepreneurs, at least in this country, are people that worked their asses off. These are people who have defied odds, and they've really, really, really put their nose to the grindstone for many, 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 many years, consistently and diligently to get there. So all you really need is more time. That's all. Just keep doing what you're doing and keep hustling and keep working it out. And eventually you'll see it start to happen for you. I'm watching it happen for me right now. So I just wanted to share that whole other half of the ball game. This is the timeline of how this works. Hey, I hope you liked the show. And if you like the Untrapped podcast and you get value from it, can you please take a minute and go over to Spotify and leave it a well-worded positive 5-star review. It helps boost the rankings on Spotify so the show can get to more people. Therefore, these messages can get out to more people and inspire more people so then they can go out and start their small businesses and crush it and get to the next level. It's a huge deal. All right, I'll see you in the next show.
Thank you.